Welcome back to US Eagle's Find Your Balance podcast. Today we're tackling two things: the best money hacks you'll wish you knew sooner and the biggest money traps to avoid. We'll cover how to save money without overthinking it, smart ways to spend without guilt, and a few financial pitfalls that sneak up on so many of us. By the end of this episode, you'll walk away with some easy, practical tips you can start using right away. So let's get into it. I'm your host, Alicia, and with us today we have Michelle and Ohnisha from our business lending department. Michelle and Ohnisha, what is one financial move that feels like free money, but a lot of people overlook?
Definitely the 401k employer contribution. If you don't know what that is, as long as you are contributing a certain percentage into your 401k, your employer more than likely also will match that.
Do you have any tips to make it automatic?
So something that I like to implement in my savings is once I get paid, I will transfer $50 from each paycheck into a savings account that I cannot see. So that way I can, save money for that way.
I like that. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. And you can also set those up through most bank or credit unions online banking to just automatically do it instead of having to think about doing it. Just do the automatic transfers.
Yeah, I know. Personally, we have a lot of ours set up through US Eagle, so it's automatic and it makes it really easy. Okay, great. Are either of you impulse buyers?
Yeah. I will definitely.
Me too. I think we all are. But do you have any tips or tricks for that to maybe avoid being an impulse buyer?
So I'm big on the online shopping. And so what I generally do is I get the enjoyment of scrolling through and finding things, and I'll put it in the cart and then I just get out of it. So it's, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll wait for a little bit. And if I'm still thinking about that item, in a month or so, then I'll buy it. Doesn't work all the time.
Mine's is more, so I'm an in-person shopper and I'm an emotional shopper. So no matter whether I'm happy, sad, I want to go shop. So one thing that I've started to do is I go to the store, but I really do have to sit there and ask myself, do you need this? Or is this just something that your impulse is telling you need because of your emotions? So that's one thing that I've been doing, is just kind of rethinking about it. Or I kind of set a limit, if I have one thing in my hand, am I really going to go stand in line for 10 minutes to buy this one thing? Usually I put it back.
I do that too. I like in person and online. So, but when I'm in person, I will judge that. If the line is too long, I'm like, is this actually worth it? Do I want it that bad? So that can kind of stop some impulse buying.
Yeah.
I do like leaving things in the cart for a while. I'll put it in Amazon or whatever. I'll put it in save for later. And then sometimes I come back for it. Sometimes I don't. And I realize that maybe, okay, I didn't need that. I just wanted it in that moment. It was an impulse.
Yeah. I have 43 items in my Shein cart right now.
And that's fair. I think a lot of us have that issue. So, I think that a lot of people have this, I don't know if it's even a misconception, but, they think that the small things are the key to savings, maybe not spending, buying the coffee that you wanted on your way to work and saving that and having coffee at home. Are there any little tips and tricks like that you guys know of for saving money?
I'm really bad about that. We've had Starbucks at least twice this week.
I won't buy that coffee, girl. No. When I was really trying to be a stickler on not purchasing coffee, I would make it from home, but I set a limit for myself. So I would say, okay, for 2 weeks, I had a limit of $25, and that's all I can spend for the 2 weeks on coffee and stuff like that. So that way it made me, need to do it at home and stuff like that.
I also bring my breakfast and lunch to work, which I think helps a lot, because I see those adding up a lot when you are going out for lunch, every other day, or even then making food at home and bringing it is a lot easier and a lot better.
Probably healthier too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that added benefit. Okay. I like that. I'm guilty of, I always stop and it's fast food. And so it might not be so expensive, but it does add up, $5 here, $5 there.
Well, you can barely even get $5 for a coffee or, lunch anymore. It's $14, $15, $20 for lunch these days. So that adds up quick.
Yeah. I actually got some boba recently, and it was a drink for myself and a drink for my fiance, and it was $20. So I was like, okay, it was a drink, you know? So definitely skipping on those is one way to save, which I need to learn. Do either of you have any good like budgeting tips or like a budgeting plan that you follow?
Honestly.
Yeah, I don't really, I think so. Like, if you have a goal, or like, if like one of my things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see if like being a single mom and just my income, I'm trying to see like, can I do this on my own as far as like owning a home again and purchasing my first home again. So with those, like I tried to say, okay, well, this is how much I think I would be comfortable. So that's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put like that amount in a savings account each paycheck. Like, so bi-weekly, I'll take whatever I think that I can afford and I put that in a savings account just to kind of get a little bit like, to say, okay, like I can do this on my own. So that's just something I've been doing, but
Now,
sometimes it doesn't always work.
like, is this your savings account that you don't see, that you don't look at, or is it a separate one?
So I have like 3 different savings accounts.
It's good.
And one of them is our Investment Plus account, the IPA. So with that, it earns a higher savings account. So that's the one that I put the majority of my savings in. The other one is like I put like our like towards vacation money. So I do like $50 if I can, and or like sometimes 100. It just depends on what I can afford that month. But typically it's 50. That's the minimum I do is $50. But if I could do a little bit more, I will. But
So US Eagle actually, through our online banking, we do have a savings goal where you can set up a specific savings goal that you have. And then we also do have a see your spending option so it can track where your money goes. So if you wanted to create a better budget, which I probably should, I'll start using that.
And that is obviously if you have our app, it's really easy to use. So if any listeners out there do have that, you should check that out. Perfect. So you guys, why do you think that, even if people get a raise at work, they still feel broke?
Well, that's definitely like, because I've been there, you think, oh, I'm making more money now, like I can spend a little bit more. And so you're not, you know, creating your budget within that higher amount. What you really should be doing is when you do get a raise, and this is a tip from my dad, is to put it towards your 401k. Just increase that percentage every time. So then you're still making that baseline amount, but you're contributing more money to your 401k, which is going to help you in the long run.
Okay. I love that. And then I don't know if either of you have like or use the like buy now, pay later services, but I feel like that's a way to make things more affordable, but there are some pitfalls with that. I don't know if you guys can talk a little about that.
I don't know much about those, but to me, it sounds like a credit card. So like you're going to pay a certain amount of interest if you're going to, buy a dishwasher, me, and then put it on a credit card, you're paying interest on that amount. And so I think those kind of things work as well. So it may be convenient, but you're going to end up paying more in the long run.
one thing I've learned with like those things like credit cards or anything like that is like don't go above what you can afford for that month. So that way, instead of being charged that additional interest, you're just paying it off that month. So you're not being charged the interest that you should have been if you extend it out, $20 here, $20 there instead of that. So just paying it off completely really helps.
A really good way to stay out of debt, because I feel like a lot of people get a credit card and they think, oh, it's free money. Oh, I don't have to pay this back right now. And they just start spending. And then that's how they, get into bad debt. They ruin their credit score, a lot of issues down the line. So, okay, I like that. Now, can we talk a little bit about subscription services? Personally, I have a lot, like Netflix, Hulu, Max, all of the things. But can you talk about why those might be a financial trap?
Girl, to me, that is a benefit. No, I'm just kidding. I would say a lot of the times you're like subscribing to these things and I know I forget. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot I even had this subscription. Or sometimes you sign up for one subscription and it comes with another one and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been paying, separate things. Or sometimes I just forget, but I would say just I don't know.
It's in my case, I like the food delivery services. So I'm really into Factor right now, and I don't always pay attention to what meals are going to be coming, and so I pay for it and then I don't end up eating them because it's something that I don't like. I'm not super picky, but I feel like that's a waste of money, or yeah.
I actually know what you mean with that because we've also used the meal services. We did use Factor at one point. And, especially for me, because I am picky, I am a picky eater, we had that issue all the time. And so Alex would eat them. But, that is a waste of money. Or recently, even my stepdad, I guess he did this. He has his Fire Stick is connected to my Prime account. And so I believe it was him. I don't know for sure, but he subscribed to ESPN during March Madness.
Oh no.
And so I noticed, I never noticed things like that, but I noticed just a charge come in and it was $12 a month. But I was like, what is this? And when I went back, I was like, oh, well, Lobos were playing it when it started. So I'm assuming it was him, but I just went in and canceled it. But even, something like that, that was an accident. Had I not been paying attention to that, then I'd be paying for ESPN for who knows how long. Oh, I know we talked just a moment ago about some credit card stuff. And, you mentioned the buy now, pay later reminds you of a credit card. Going off of that, I think credit cards are great and sometimes they have great benefits, but is there a time when they actually do more harm than good?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't think about that.
I would say, yeah. Sometimes there's, like you mentioned, or even I know from just personal experience when I first got my credit card, I was really young and I didn't know this comes with consequences. So when I first got my credit card, I maxed out my credit card.
Because you're oh, free money.
Yeah, oh, I get to go buy all these clothes. Again, I'm an impulse buyer, so I bought clothes. I maxed out my credit card and, I'm paying $20 here, $20 every month. And I'm like, when is this going to go away? And it doesn't go away, especially being a younger person when you're living on such a fixed income. That's when it could really hurt you. Instead of helping you build your credit, you're not, because you're maxing it out. So the financial institutions are like, well, what are you doing when you're maxing out those credit cards? They're like, well, you've only had it for a month and you already used your whole limit. What are you going to do if we give you a higher limit? So it does have its its downfalls when you are an impulse buyer, or if you're thinking oh, I can max it out and I'll pay it month to month. But especially if you're on a fixed income, I think it could really affect you. The benefits of it, when you first get it, are nice because you have all these nice things, but months down the line, you're like, dang, I'm paying on a credit card and I have nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yeah. And I think, interest really, really adds up. I think when my cousin bought his house, we were looking at how much he paid versus after his, 30-year loan, how much interest he was going to have paid. And it was astronomical.
Yeah.
And, same with a credit card when it's 20% interest or something. It can add up so fast and kind of get behind, and it's like a cycle you can't catch up.
Especially if you're only paying the minimum requirements, and really pay attention to those interest rates, because even if they say it's 0% for the first year, what is it actually going to be after that?
Right.
Because those 20, I saw one, I think it was 27%. That is crazy.
And I think one thing that I like to tell people too, just coming from my financial consultant from the branch, and you could speak to it too, is one thing I like to tell people is, if you have a vehicle, just because interest rates are so high right now, make your payments bi-weekly, because it's not a whole chunk that's being put out and you're only being charged 14 days of interest rather than 30 to 31 days of interest depending on the month. So that's one point that I always tell people, especially, fresh coming out of college and you're wanting to purchase your first vehicle. You've never had anybody co-sign for you. You want to do it on your own. You're getting charged an 18% interest rate on a vehicle when you could be, paying that interest down, or paying the principal down, also not paying so much in interest.
Okay. So I do want to switch gears here a little bit. and I think this one will be fun. This one's going to be more of like a quick fire kind of would you rather. Ohnisha, I'll go with you first. Would you rather get a $5,000 bonus today or $50 a month for the next 10 years?
I would say the $50 a month for the next 10 years.
Okay. Michelle, same question.
I am opposite. I would rather have a $5,000 right now because we did the math. And it is the $50 a month over the next 10 years is $6,000. And so it is more, but for me personally, I'm a homeowner. So, I got projects around the house that I need to get taken care of. And $5,000 right now would help me take care of a lot of stuff. Me saving $50 a month for the next 10 years is not going to fix all of my projects at home,
And I think that is great. I like that you guys actually disagree on that because it just shows, everyone's financial journey is different. Everyone's needs are different. And so I think I'm with you, Ohnisha. I think that I would want to do the 50 a month. But then again, I don't know, 5,000 right now would be nice. So, I think it's what fits your needs. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just because, like Michelle said, I don't have anything where I'm like, you're a homeowner, like stuff like that. I don't have anything where I'm like, okay, I need to do this or like ASAP,
You don't need a dishwasher.
Yeah. I don't need a dishwasher. Like, those are the things that, and I'm thinking too, like, if you could do $50 and put it into the savings account, you're getting additional interest on it as well. So,
Oh, that's a good point.
Are you trying to change your answer now?
No,
absolutely not.
Doubling?
Locked in. Yeah. Give me that 5,000.
I'd like a new washer and dryer too.
Okay. Next question. Would you rather live in your dream home but always be paycheck to paycheck, or have a tiny house but have complete financial freedom?
Tiny home.
Tiny home, yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Having financial freedom, I think, is, especially because we're a table full of women, like, that's a huge advantage for us. And I mean, I love my little home right now, and it works out just fine for me and the cats.
Okay. Next question. Would you rather have free groceries for life or never pay for gas again?
That's tough.
Yeah.
Because both are real expensive right now.
I would probably say groceries, to be completely honest, because probably spend like at least $150 on groceries each week.
Yeah, I definitely spend more on groceries and my food deliveries than I do on gas. That's a good point.
Yeah.
We live in a metro area, so it's, we're not using that much gas, but that's a good point. I think I'd go with groceries too.
That's fair. I think I would too. I probably also spend more on food than gas, but okay. And then last one. Would you rather have a job you love with a modest salary or a job you dislike with a high salary?
I think where you work is really important, and who you work with, because we spend most of our lives at work. I'm with you guys more than I'm with my friends mostly. Like, I see you on a regular basis. So I think it's really important to like where you work. And so if that would be my choice. Modest salary. Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably say the same. Because again, we work with each other. We see each other more than we see our families or our home or whatever most of the time. And we love to, chit chat and talk amongst each other. So yeah, I would have to say the salary. The modest salary.
Yeah. And I would say the same, actually. Okay. Well, thank you both for being here. Anything else that you would like to add? Anything else you want listeners to know? A last bit of financial advice.
Pay attention to your bank accounts. Pay attention to those subscriptions. And, if you're really trying to make a budget, utilize the tools that, not only we offer, but anywhere else you might bank offers. So, just pay attention to that kind of stuff.
My advice would be, or not advice, but my would be, no question is a stupid question. So if you have a question and you don't know where to go or who to ask about financially, go step into your financial institution and somebody is going to be more than happy to answer your questions. Or if you need help, guidance, or anything like that, as far as loans, money, anything like that, go in there and ask the questions. It's not like a dealership where they're kind of looking at you like, little sharks in the water. It's something that they're willing to help most of the time, and everybody's very welcoming here at US Eagle. So if you have any questions, even if you're not a member, you're thinking about it, feel free to step into any one of our branches, and any one of us is more than happy to help you. So
I love that.
yeah, that was good.
And also, on that note, you can make appointments online, and they're free appointments. Like, we never charge for any of this, but you can meet with a financial consultant, and they can, it doesn't matter what your question is, but they can talk to you about anything finance related. So love that. All right. Well, thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you all of you, these listeners out there, for tuning in. Stay tuned for our next podcast. We have some more fun ones coming up.